So guys, I'm going to show you guys how I got to cut my hair during quarantine. I've been doing it for about 13, 14 years or so. Changed up the hairstyle a little bit, but I've been doing this hairstyle for a couple years now. And a lot of you guys are stuck at home, unable to go to the barber shop, and I'm not a professional barber or any type of hairstylist at all, but I've been doing my own hair for a while, and I don't get too many people telling me it looks bad. So I'm just gonna cut my hair, walk you through it a little bit. It's only, a tutorial on how to do this type of hairstyle. So show you what I'll use. So I personally use a 3-guard on the side, so about here, and then a 2-guard on this part, and then kind of taper it into that. And then sometimes I'll use a 1-guard kind of at the very bottom here, and then I use no guard, just this, on the actual beard and to trim up and shape up the back of the neck. And then I have, as you can see, kind of that part line right there. So I use a longer comb here to kind of get that, kind of flatten it against my head, pull it, find that good line there, hold it, and then use the 3-guard to go up through there. All right, so I'm gonna use the 3-guard, snap it on. So just think about going straight up. So don't try to follow the head to where it ends up going, in and up into there. So just kind of think, get your head vertical and go straight up, and it ends up kind of tapering itself off. And you can just kind of do that for a while and see if it is kind of the look that you want after you kind of pat it down and put it the way that you style it. So that's all I think about, is just turn it on, going along the head and going straight vertical, and then the way it falls ends up tapering it pretty well. So as you can see, I kind of end up pushing the hair back over. As I pull it up, it ends up kind of, flopping up. So I put it back to where I want it to be whenever I actually do style it. Then I kind of end up going forward as well to kind of, since the hair is kind of laying back that way, it kind of just goes in line with it or against it, so it catches just a little bit better. All right, so go ahead and do the back. Same thing on that. I mostly just go straight up, but on this one I do end up following the contour a little bit and kind of think about getting right into here to kind of make it fade out into this area. As you noticed, I go over it multiple times because you see people that do their own hair and then they just have a couple little long ones sticking out. Unless you have really good clippers, they don't end up getting every single piece on the first pass. These I've used for quite a few years now, so they're not super good. They kind of do leave a couple hairs here and there, so I just go over it plenty of times to make sure I get everything. So now I'm going to show you the side that I part on this side. So I take one of these long combs, I flish it against my head here, make it real tight, and kind of comb over till just the short hairs are left there. It's kind of hard to hold both of these things, but now as you can see, only the hairs that were last cut at like that with the 3-guard are there, and then all the rest of the longer hairs are there. So now I can pretty much go over this area, and since the guard is on, it's not going to end up cutting those longer hairs. And this is still that 3. So you can see there's a pretty good line right there. If you haven't had a part there, you can kind of do the same thing or kind of put it over with your hand and then use your actual guard making a part in itself. So you can, I'm not gonna do it right now, but turn it on and then kind of just go kind of hard and end up kind of, see it kind of picked up a few there. So pretty much done with the 3-guard now. I'm gonna go ahead and taper it in the 2 into the 3 now, so that lower part, kind of breaking it up into halves if you're just going to use 2 guards. So I'll probably just do 2. I usually just do 2 on the bottom, 3 on the top. Like I said, sometimes I'll end up doing 1 on the very kind of bottom third and kind of break it up into thirds, that bottom half. So I'm gonna go and put on the 2 guard, set it in there. So just snap it in here. And on this, you do kind of have to go away from it a little bit. So you kind of start at the bottom, go up, and then kind of fade off of it a little bit. So kind of where you want to go. So I kind of end up going kind of right there, about halfway, and then all the way around. But it kind of ends up kind of dipping down in the back just a little bit. So going around the ear, I end up kind of, I don't put it flush against there like this, so I end up kind of tilting it a little bit so it gets close to the ear and then ends up tapering off a little bit here. So you can see there's a little bit of space here, so it's not flush against there. If you do that, then there's gonna end up being a straight line of the 2 versus the 3. So you wanna fade it into that so it doesn't look amateurish, if that's a word. So on the back, I pretty much just go off how it feels. I don't really use a mirror to see it. Just kind of go about halfway and then fade off and pull off a little bit so that it doesn't end up being a straight line or going up too high. So you can always kind of, start just a little bit at the bottom and then kind of see how it looks and then go up a little bit more. All right, so there you can see there's kind of a fade from a 2 into a 3. So I'll do a 1 guard just on the very bottom. So kind of right there where the sideburns are, and then just barely kind of around where the edge of the hair starts. So putting on the 1 guard. All right, so now I'll go ahead and cut in around the ears. So what you want to do is just kind of see the longer hairs kind of go down, and you gotta just cut those off and kind of look at where your hair already, the line that your hair already makes, and I just kind of go off of that. So. And then on the back, it's a little harder if you have a wife or a friend or something that you trust. It's a lot easier to get the back if somebody else can do that. What I do is I can just try to follow along where the line goes of my hair here, and then kind of follow that along to go straight. So kind of tough, but you get this other mirror here, so you can see the side of your neck right here. So careful with this part. This, you're gonna double mirror, so it's kind of confusing. So turn it on, have it away from yourself. See where you want to put it. And then once it's in the right spot, then I kind of tap it down and pull. So if you have kind of calyx, or if your hair kind of goes in different directions, so in the back here, for me, it kind of starts going up. So if I want to fade it in with that one, then I'll need to go the opposite direction, going down to get that. I'll show you how to cut off, how I end up cutting off a little bit on the top as well. So what I do is I kind of damp it with some water, and then you end up using your fingers and some scissors. You don't want to go the exact same direction everywhere. So if you go in this way every single time, then it's going to end up it could leave like little lines of different heights. So I kind of end up going this way at times, kind of all from different directions. And I put my hands through there, and then I just squeeze, and you can see how it ends up making the hair stick up there. And depending on how short you want it, I kind of just use my fingers as a guard to see how long I want to make my hair. So I go there, I squeeze. When it's wet, it'll clump up a little better, and you can see there's this much hair on there. So I don't want to cut off too much today here. So I'll end up going there, squeezing, and then I'll end up kind of pulling out just a little bit. So there's a little bit of gap between my fingers and my head. But if you want it a little shorter, then you just keep your fingers flush against your head and then cut, kind of using your fingers as a guide to cut. So I'm gonna go ahead and wet my hair in the sink. Again, I just kind of put my fingers through there, I pinch, and then they don't really stick up a whole lot, so then you pull back just a little bit, and then you can see some of the hairs that stick up. So put them through, pinch, pull back a little bit. You'll see how all the hair is coming off a little bit. So then I'll pull just a little bit, because like I said, I don't want to cut off a whole lot today, and then I just cut. So what this does is it leaves a little bit more of a textured look in your hair, so it's not exactly the exact same length all the way on the top, like a buzz cut type thing. It looks a little better and more professional. But you can just go as slow as you want. You can take a tiny bit off, check it. Tiny bit off, check it. And then get what you want. I mean, a lot of you guys have a ton of time here now in quarantine, so, may as well spend some time on it. Learn how to save a few bucks for the rest of your life. So pull up, and then I just cut. And you just do this until you've got it short enough, so I can just kind of keep checking and seeing if it's the length I want it. And just kind of cut, check, make sure it's not too much in one side or one area and not enough in another area. You can kind of just keep going over it and seeing, when you squeeze, if there's some hairs that are really long, then you cut those off. One more. So remember to be a little careful in the front. So I have, you can see, a pretty deep widow's peak. So I don't want to end up putting my hands right close to my skin here and cutting that off, because then it's like a little bitty spike, tiny little hairs here that aren't long enough to kind of comb over. So the back, you can't really see what you're doing back there. So personally, I end up cutting it a little bit shorter, kind of where my head, where there's a little flatter right in here. So right here, I end up kind of going here and cutting almost, like my fingers are pretty much flush with my head here, and then just cutting off. So kind of going at a bunch of different angles, so you're not getting a straight line of a cut. So I can't really see what I'm doing, I'm just going off of feel here, but kind of all in that lower spot, or the back part, I get it a little bit lower. So on there, I kind of just go till I feel like there's not a whole lot coming through my fingers. And you can just keep doing this as long as you want, basically, just kind of slowly cutting a little bit off. You can see I'm going up sometimes, I'm going to the side sometimes, I'm going from the back sometimes, getting different angles so it's not always, you know, the same angle where you end up getting little zebra type layers of different heights. All right, so I think that's enough for what I'm going for today. Final product, or mostly, still gonna cut the beard as well, so. So there's what I look like with half a beard. Kind of nasty, but. All right, there's the final product. So, trim my beard and trim the hair. Alrighty, good luck. All right, so showered, got all the loose stuff off of there. So, not too bad for free. Not saying it's the best haircut in the world, but it's free and it's, you know, saves me a few $100 a year. Doesn't look too bad, right? Again, leave any comments below or questions. Like if you think it looks good. Don't dislike if you don't think it looks good. Just, I don't know, comment about it. Good luck.